Enter into a new dimension of gaming and push your PC to the extreme with uncompromised graphics performance. So compact you have to see it to believe it. The way you play will never be the same.
Event that has been a month in the making. We started with 8 teams. Now we're down to our final 2. This is the HSL brought to you by XP Valorant Edition. Our grand final matches are about to begin. It's going to be, St. Edmunds College taking on Melbourne High School, the defending champs, a new challenger. Only one will remain victorious at the end of our best of 3 series. It's been an interesting season for sure, a bit shorter than what we've seen in the past. However, after these 4 weeks, we definitely have our 2 best teams about to go down as we sort of take a look at the format and how we got here. 8 teams began. We had our seeding match and then the playoffs straight into it. And it's essentially been a single elimination run for each of these teams. They survived that first round of the playoffs. They got through that semifinal, as we saw Melbourne High School do quite convincingly last week. And now in our grand final against the like of St. Edmunds, it's going to be a fun match. That is absolutely for sure. Didn't really introduce myself. My name is Max. That's not as important as these 2 teams. And it's definitely going to be a lot of fun as we take a closer look at our teams who did participate. Now, obviously, when you start with 8 and only have 2 remaining, a big heartfelt thank you for those who didn't quite make it. Of course, Marston Makos, Marceline Egos, Maryborough Molotovs, the Cyber Sharks, St. Bridges, as well as MFAC Beast. All 6 of these teams did fall short on the wayside on our road to this finals, but between Melbourne High School and Dina United Party Limited, aka St. Edmunds, these 2 teams proved to be the 2 best. They sort of worked and dominated their way through. I believe we haven't really had a third map happen just yet, so both of these squads are undefeated coming into today. As we can take a closer look at our bracket, it can kind of show us how it came to be. See right here, all 2 zeros all the time. The only real upset that really took place did happen in that first round when the Eagles did sort of pull an upset on the Beast before, but then they had to go up against Melbourne High School, and Melbourne High School, probably that #1 seed. They are going to be the favorites coming into this final against St. Edmunds, but St. Edmunds got through a strong Marsden side as well as a significant challenge with how do I pronounce that? Bridges SBCC is what we're going to call them. It was a significant victory over them as well, and going on to this grand final match, I think we're going to see a lot of fun, but if I were to make that caster prediction, I'm going to be leaning towards that Melbourne High School side. They are a team that looks to be a lot more dominant, and I'm getting ours from the players, so I believe we're going to be jumping in. Our first map is going to be on none other than Split, so here we go. I get to push the start button. I think that's kind of special. It's a grand final. So that hype is definitely coming through right here or right now. A winner take all. Well, or at least takes that 1 map advantage as we jump into it. Expecting to see those ciphers come out. On the attack, it is Melbourne High School. On defense, it will be St. Edmunds, as everyone's looking to lock in right now. Some names to look out for coming into this. Obviously, on that attacking side, keep your eyes on Vort. Especially on this jet, can be very, very dangerous, very aggressive. And everything about this Melbourne side screams aggression when they do play. They like to get their flanks. They like to find their avenues into their opponent's back lines. And you cannot be patient against this team, or else they will surround you and they will take you down. However, when you take a look at their opponents on the St. Edmunds side, Cringe, Normie, and Din were 2 names that have stepped up quite well in the past. And I have seen Robert Trangle actually, get those odd clutch plays. It's going to be a tough ask, but I don't expect it to be an easy one. for the side of Melbourne. I think they are going to have to work for this. It is the grand final. These are the two best teams, and they might not be able to find a lot of their flanks as easily. That said, their team composition still looks to be a very mobile and a very aggressive one with that Jet, with the Breach, and with the Omen. They will have the ability to sort of wrap around their opponents, even like Reyna as well. Like, this is an aggressive team coming from this attacking side of Melbourne High. Meanwhile, for St. Edmunds, you know, they are kind of adopting that more defensive approach. I like the Brimstone. I think Cringe Normie on this pick, you know, is definitely going to be trying to sort of direct where they want Melbourne to go as we load in to our very first map. Going to be a good one, that is for sure. As everyone is jumping in. Looks to be a bit of an A push to start us off. Now, if you're worried about, you know, possibly spoiling things, I will let you all know this is being played on a delay, so fret not. Not giving anything away by what I say, as a lot of Killjoy's toys have been set up on that A side right now, and I do feel like that will lead to a more difficult A push. You also have EXO already looking for that flank. That is what Melbourne likes to do, so we'll see if that does pay off this time around. Robert Triangle does not sidestep the smoke, so it's going to have to be forced to retreat back. Is able to spot Melbourne as they push forward, got the flank, and takes out one member before they trade one apiece. As more defenders racing to the scene are getting caught out at the moment. Interesting standoff with the smoke screen right there. Eventually, I feel like Cringe is going to get impatient. He is, and try to push through completely. Missing Vort, but might be able to get behind the Jet. Doesn't see her. A very awkward situation right there as Jet stays high, but the sound is made, and Cringe able to sneak behind, but can't make contact with the shots. Very unfortunate right there, and this attack looking very strong. Din sort of held back in a 1v4 situation, and the chase is on. They don't want to let Din escape. Will get knocked up by the Breach, and I do expect to see it will be CJH pressing forward. Melbourne take our very first map. Looking strong from the Melbourne side right there. 2K for Vort, 2K for SS Tim on the attacking side, so a good start for both of these players. Again, Vort, as I mentioned before, it's going to be that player to watch, and now they are weaponing up, so you got to be very careful right here. This could be a very dangerous situation right now. You'd expect Melbourne to take the second point. They are mixing up, going to that B side. Once again, the Killjoy has slayed all of her toys on that A side, and no one is watching B right now. B is entirely open, and this could be a free take onto the point. This could be a very gross misstep by the St. Edmunds sides. They're overcommitting. And by the time Cringe Normie's going to rotate back, you're going to see a lot of members on that Melbourne side. The smoke does sort of give away that holdup. We could be here too little too late because the entire B-side point has been taken over. And as Robert Triangle tried to peek, is spotted, so too is Cringe Normie. And this is a little bit of a disaster right here for St. Edmunds. You cannot afford to do that. Fort with the 2K to end it. A flawless play, and no one watching B. I don't understand how you can try to make that little bit of a mistake in the final right here. High risk, zero reward, I suppose. Not the start that St. Edmunds possibly were looking for. That said, they have the potential to bring back right now on this third point. Question is, are they actually going to buy for it? And it looks like they will, so they are outgunning their opponents in this one. It does look as if Melbourne is content to sit with those light SMGs and really try to keep the econ train going. So this is going to be a good chance for the defense to try and bring it back in this one. And if you're looking at that defense, well, so far, it's only Robert who has been able to get one kill in this, as he's going to be watching that A side, but that's not where the action is. The action is going to be straight down the middle, where Cringe Normie kind of holding the ground on their own, trying to play that patient game. Eventually will be forced to try and peek that one out, but you got to be careful right here. Meanwhile, Vort on that B side flank has already found a member, so B could be open, and that's causing the defense to rotate over there. Yet Cringe Normie is still holding off 1v3, because I don't believe, you know, that St. Edmunds is actually aware how heavy this mid push is. That was an arm that was spotted, but Cringe Normie is revealed. Going to get blinded by the Breach, and here comes that hard push. Cringe Normie able to jump underneath, yet the chase is on. CJH chasing after Cringe Normie and will be able to bring him down. And that's going to actually turn everything into an A push right now, as this is an all-out aggressive assault coming from the Melbourne side, and being weapons down in this matchup, even with all of those Spectres. Guess what? Melbourne's going to take another point. 3-0 lead right now. Looking very good, this Melbourne side, as starting to run away with this matchup already. Vort has the knives available should Vort choose to use it, but instead upgrading to that Phantom. This should be another map going in Melbourne's favor just because of the fact that Melbourne does have a quite significant econ advantage in this. I do like Tokyo, though, busting out the Deagle. Super curious to see how that's going to pay out. I don't really have the highest hopes as Vort. You can see already looking for another one of these aggressive pushes. Now, the Killjoy Toys will spot out this attack, but the question is, how much can they push into it? You can see that rush happening down below as Vort's trying to slow push up into heaven. Has a little bit of backup as well with the Sage, but with the smoke coming down, that's going to make any peaks hard. Oh, look at the positioning from Din, yet being able to suss it out is Vorten. That's a quick pick right there. Down below as well, it does look as if Melbourne was able to take the point. Vort with the patient play finds another K, and finally Vort does go down, and we could be seeing a bit of an econ take back right here. This could be quite good. CJH going to try and slow push, hold that tight defensive line. Now the wall, actually a bit of more of a hindrance than anything else. And CJH, the last attacker remaining. This could be a massive win for St. Edmunds, yet CJH gets one. Going to blind himself behind, spots two members jumping down, but cannot quite get the 3K. And with the frenzy, Ducky should be able to get the defuse on the spike and finally get a much-needed win for the St. Edmunds side. Very strong comeback in this round. Very, very strong indeed. As now Ducky had to fight back for that. And well played by this defense. That was a very thrifty victory. And, you know, for the defending champs, a little bit of a shocker. They let that one through, and they're letting their opponents back into this game. Should still be quite heavily able to econ. You can see Vort CJH each shitting with over 7K. And that means the ops are coming out. Oh boy, Vort and that op already 8Ks in this match. Already still has that sitting on that ultimate as well. Don't think we'll see it this round. What we will see, however, is going to be a push onto the B side. I'll have a Triangle as well, ultimate available. Curious to see if those blades will be used on this defensive effort. Yet at the moment, it is Tokyo who is going to spot out the attack. Smoke goes down, but so too does Breach. It's going to force Tokyo to try and redirect. It's turning into a bit of a slow push from the Melbourne side right now. They don't know how many people are actually on that B side, and you have to assume everyone was able to rotate there. I do like how CJH is just making sure no flank does come through, so you're not going to catch the mapping. In fact, it's going to be a full rotation to the mid at the moment, and that's where Cringe Normie typically likes to hide. A solo as well. It's going to be very vital that Cringe Normie actually spots out this full rotation and maybe even gets a pick. Sees two members, does go down, but the important thing is that knowledge was passed on. Din going to be the next person who's going to try to find a pick onto the rope. Shots come down, does get one, but cannot quite get that second. It's going to be forced to quickly redirect as the rest of St. Edmunds is going to rotate to that side, but it could be too little too late. Very aggressive play again coming from Melbourne. They want to make sure that they get this point completely unabated, but here comes Robert looking down and not up. Can't get the flank play off. And I feel like it's going to come down to Din versus the world. Ducky still able to find Exo on the tail end of it all before getting spotted out by Vort. All comes down to Din. Interesting that Vort actually gave up that op. Din can't win the duel. It's the op that comes out on top, picked up by Tim. And that's going to be the attackers of the Melbourne High back out in front with a very solid 4-1 lead. Here we go. Very strong performance right now, again coming from this Melbourne High side. It looked a little shaky last round, but they're back in control, and I want to keep eyes on Vort for this one. With that op, actually was sharing the op around, which you love to see. Gave it to Tim, and Tim was able to get that last one, but oh. Actually going to be giving up the op again, it looks like. No. Okay, just buying the Phantom for the team and going to run with the Vandal instead. Just have a plethora of guns back behind to choose from right now. This is so good. As we can see, Vort continuing to just get that smoke down, trying to find those angles. They know at least one defender is there. Actually, they find three defenders, and already that spike's going to be planted. The rush coming through, and it all comes down to Ducky versus the world. Ducky going for the econ, actually gets one. So that's going to feel pretty good, but when you look down to pick up the weapon, unfortunately, not the time to do it as you're getting pressed upon. So Ducky finds one, but doesn't find the victory in that. Melbourne High take their 5th point and continue this snowball effect. That was an econ round, however, for the side of St. Edmunds. This is going to be so crucial for them. You can see they are blowing everything, trying to win this next point. So it's going to be pretty huge. I love Tim with the full econ as well, fully built, just kind of showing. Meanwhile, Vort 11-1. Vort last final, last year, was the player who stepped up and completely took things over. So it's going to be exciting to see what they can do. Now, Cringe Normie typically is the one who's been spotting out these attacks, as the Molly is going to be used to just shut down that entrance into heaven, but it doesn't look like that the attack wants anything to do with that. Robert Triangle trying to play hallway, does spot Ducky, getting a 3K, and that 3K is huge for this defense. This is a must-win round for them, and they are able to play the Hall tool and come out on top. It all is left to Forbidden Nature, and Forbidden Nature is not going to be able to bring it back. Defenders get a huge win, and St. Edmunds, twice now with their back against the wall in sort of a must-win situation, they have come out on top. Cannot overlook that. There is a bit of a clutch team in this There is a bit of the clutch gene in this team. 4 ultimates now available. Most importantly, I think that Killjoy one could be quite useful, as well as the Sage Res. We got a big round on our hands. Most importantly, though, it looks to be another push in mid, where Din will be kind of going solo. Smoke, ice wall, yeah, they just want to shut down that mid. However, already blowing the ice wall open. Fort tries to press forward, does get tagged a bit by Din. Is still able to jump over the wall, just throwing that smoke, making sure no one can get through that connector, as the rest of the team is just barreling on through. Forbidden Nature trying to play around that smoke. Din's trying to peek around the corner, but needs to be so cautious. There are so many weapons pointed at Din. The second Din peeks around, I think it's going to go badly. Here comes the slow, here comes the press, and there is the kill, as Forbidden Nature peeks around the corner, sees a lot of defenders there. He goes, nah, don't really want that. Gonna back away. Tim able to find Tokyo on the tail end of it all. That is going to be a B-side controlled by the Melbourne High. They've already found 3 before Cringe Normie is able to take one back. Cringe Normie, though, won't get too much more than that. And it's Ducky versus the world. Not going to catch anyone in the Killjoy ultimate, as it's going to be a slow push up to heaven, but there are so many playable up there. Nice pressure by Vort. The synergy from the team on display. And Melbourne going to go ahead and take control of the map right on back. 6-2 lead. Absolutely dominant performance yet again. And just when things look to be going back into St. Edmunds' favor, it's already starting to fall apart once more. Bust out the Bucky. Yeah, we were going to be following this, I think. You got to love a Bucky play right here, right now from Tokyo. Believe in the Bucky. I like it. I like it a lot. I have good, you know. Meanwhile, on the other side, Vort's busting out the Judge. So we got a lot of fun shotguns on display right there. See what Vort can do actually on this Judge. This is what I want to see. Nothing is more scary than a competent jet with a Judge. Already looking for that flank, yet Exo's doing all the work for the Melbourne side. Din with the 3K on the Judge before falling themselves. Oh my goodness, Din just walked forward into heaven right there and finds 3 attackers. It's not going to turn into a victory, as Vort's able to bring it back, but credit to Din where credit is due. The Judge, the Judge is coming into play, as Tokyo's not very happy with the Bucky at the end of that. Cannot blame him. The Bucky wasn't able to come out on top. Look, the Judge is just the superior shotgun. That said, and this is a controversial opinion, if the Judge is a shotgun, then shouldn't the Bucky actually be the Sheriff? So it's like the Sheriff and the Judge are the 2 shotguns. Food for thought, as we're going to see Vort looking to press aggressively with that flare, drop the smoke, and that is going to let St. Edmunds know. Look who's here, and Ducky actually wins a duel against Vort, as Tokyo as well is able to get a pick. Very strong showing from this defense. Unfortunately, CJH and Forbidden Nature is going to find Cringe Normie right back, and that's going to make things a little bit more difficult for this defense. Exo still looking for a slow push onto this point alongside CJH. 2 defenders there. What a headshot from Vandals and CJH. And CJH continuing the slow push. On the flank, though, comes Robert Triangle, and that's going to be a nice little 2K. All the pressure now onto Forbidden Nature, and if the attack is going to get this point. Rez did come through, so now we are looking at a 1v3. Nature coming through heaven. We'll have a general idea of where that Sage is. Recognize that everyone's going to be in that back corner. I'm actually surprised Nature's going for this. It's going to be a tough play. Gets the headshot onto Tokyo, though, who is watching the wrong entrance. Now continuing to push forward. Goes ahead, gets a little bit of a smoke out. Recognizes that both defenders are in that corner. Has to be very cautious No need to overextend. No need to peek prematurely. Make sure no one's looking long. Loses the first duel to Din, and that's going to be the defenders getting that point back. Smart play coming from it was smart play coming from Forbidden Nature right there, but it wasn't quite enough. And looking at those score lines right now, I feel like Vort has 3 deaths and Melbourne has 3 map losses. St. Edmunds, they got 3 map wins. Vort has 3 deaths. These things are correlated right now. The game is pretty much take down Vort, and guess what? You have a chance. Well, Vort's going back on the Phantom. No more fun and games with the judge. This is going to be very scary situation, as let's see what this attack is going to be able to pull off right here. They are going to go for that middle play once more. Smoked up 5-man press. They're going to walk right into that ice wall, and they may actually play the patient game and wait for it to break down. If they do, once again, Cringe Normie on his own spots out the entirety of the enemy team before falling. Does trade 1 for 1 as well. And now the question remains, which way do we go? Well, Vort was be able to found by Din, and typically that means good things. Robert Triangle still going for that slow play as Exo has a little fight in the hallway before pushing down onto the point. Tokyo, the lone defender on B, will be found. And once again, it's Exo who has to go 1v3, and well, can't quite bring it out. Sorry, it was 1v2. Either way, it is the 2 that comes out on top. And for the second map in a row, St. Edmunds actually pulls it off on defense. Last round before the swap, St. Edmunds finally getting their momentum back, and they might have a chance to fight back in our game here. After this, of course, will be the swap. We will go back to pistols. As for this defending side, it's been a rough one, but they are doing okay. I like the op coming from Robert Triangle. Got to be careful with that, though. Ducky's still the kill leader for St. Edmunds, but perhaps that will change. Do we get that op hall pick? Well, the answer is no, because the entirety of the attacking side is pushing on B, and Din's going to be able to find all of that. Throws down the ice to sort of slow any hard push. Is able to spot Vort as Vort lunges in, and Din's going so aggressive. I'm not sure that's the correct play. They tried to synergize as well with the other Sage, and it's just not going to work out. Forbidden Nature is going to quickly find that one in Tokyo. It's going to be real cautious trying to push through that point. Look up above Exo. Just trying to shut down Heaven. Very, very tight angles being held from the back. Vort able to nail Robert Triangle with that as smoke used up top. Meanwhile, an aggressive Vort again finds a kill onto Tokyo before falling. Another smoke in play is going to reveal the 1 defender remaining up in Heaven, but completely surrounded. Yes, you'll get one, but you won't be able to get the other because it's going to be a knife to the back from CJH. And that's going to be how the attackers finish point number 1. Or I should say side number 1, I suppose. 8-4 lead for Melbourne High School as we switch our sides. Melbourne High School now on the defense. St. Edmunds on the attack. As we'll see what St. Edmunds is going to try and pull off right now. All eyes kind of going to be on Ducky, because while Killjoy is great on defense, on attack things to be a little bit more difficult. And I'm curious to see if the St. Edmunds kill leader can kind of keep that spot right now. I do think this is a strong pick, however, against the Melbourne side because of how aggressive Melbourne gets on defense, how they're always going to be trying to get behind you. The Killjoy's toys will help sort of signify that, and they should be able to react. I'm very curious if the pincer movement will happen. If Tim does decide to press forward right here, we could see something kind of crazy. Robert Triangle going for that initial push, has the frenzy. He's going to be looking to play aggressive, spots the feet of that Reyna before flashing forward. Doesn't find anyone in that short haul, but he's going to be walking right into Exo. And that's going to be the first kill in the pistol round, going to the defense as Exo's going to try to rotate back to A. Meanwhile, in mid, it's still that push happening, just trying to muscle their way through the St. Edmunds side. Does actually see them going 1 for 1 with the second trade, but there is the flank. You always gotta be careful for CJH, able to come from behind, gets a nice little 2K, and is now trying to knife that third, but walks right into that ice wall. It will come down to Din versus the world. Is able to get up above, finds Exo before starting to reach back, and 2v1 at this stage, it can be doable, especially with the Sage. You have that self-healing, so you have a little bit of leeway with the duel. Unfortunately for Din, the spike is in such an awkward spot. And I do believe that Melbourne is completely aware, okay, if Din isn't waiting in that Heaven side, it's going to be wrapping around to a spawn. The question is which one, and at the moment, actually, Vort could be... Now, Vort's looking the right way. Vort is checking both angles. Vort should be aware as Din continues to slow press I. Only 30 seconds left, and I'm not sure that's enough time to get the spike and plant. Din's going to have to be able to get the 2K. As here we go. It's spotted immediately by Vort and gunned down. So... That is going to be a nice little victory. Again, going to the Melbourne High School side, continuing their rampage, or rather, you know, sort of getting it back after giving up a couple rounds on the tail end of our first sides. Here we go. See what items are being bought right now. Oh, Vort's going back to the judge. Back on the judge is Vort. Why use SMGs when you can go Jet and Judge? Expect that aggressive play. 5 seconds till go time, and a split attack actually being set up by the St. Edmunds team. And curious to see if this will pay off for them as Vort's going to actually go for that aggressive play. Spots out Din, who actually has the spike, gets the 2K as well. And that is Spike now in control for Melbourne side, being defended with the judge. Meanwhile, on the B side, it's a little unfortunate because St. Edmunds actually were able to get onto the point. They did lose someone in the first, and as Ducky not able to get any picks with the Frenzy. A flawless victory, but you sort of expected that with the gun advantage going in favor of Melbourne High. 3 points away from taking our first map in this best of 3. This could be telling of things to come right now. Vort currently sitting 20-5. Going to stick with that judge as the big guns coming out for St. Edmunds. I think I'm going to be able to pull it off. That is what we're going to see. I'm going to go ahead, have a little watch of, let's go Tokyo. Let's see what's happening with Tokyo in this one. Has the knife. Again, it's sort of a split push. This time the spike's going to stay on the B side. But you got to be careful. Here comes that aggressive push, and Cringe Normie had the angle, but cannot win the duel against Forbidden Nature. And now Ducky is going to try and hold that garage entrance. It does look like, however, the defense is going to fall back for Melbourne. They're not going to try and push this advantage. I wonder if because that wasn't a spike take and because of the action happening on A, Melbourne probably thinks that they need to rotate around. Mid, we're seeing a bit of a poke and a bit of a reveal. Ducky unaware that they can almost push straight onto B right now. It's Forbidden Nature still kind of keeping an eye on that mid situation. Tokyo going to play off the wall set up by the Sage, but sees the smoke get laid and knows there's an Omen right around that corner. As Tokyo takes a couple of pot shots right here. Shots through the smoke. Nothing going to connect just yet. Forbidden Nature continuing to hold the line. Decides to peek forward. Takes some shots down the hallway. Not going to hit anyone just yet. The patient game in effect right now. EXO actually finds 2 before getting gunned down by Tokyo. Smoke comes down, and that's going to help Tokyo actually get a 3K through that situation. And Tokyo starting to fight back a bit on this attack right now. Gets that spike, but you still got to deal with Vort. Vort is still standing, and that is a player you need to be careful of. However, the first duel is going to be up against, I believe, CJH. No, Tokyo backs away, but does so making a lot of noise, and that does mean Tokyo is going to be tracked with this little rotation, the one-man rotation, stuck behind the ice wall, but that immediately breaks, goes for the one-on-one duel with Tim, I should say, and does lose out. So, my apologies, it was Tim, not Vort, who was still standing. Incorrect right there, but that's okay. Either way, Melbourne High still looking so good in this as they have an 11-4 lead. Looking to take map 1 quite comfortably. Just 12 seconds before we kick this one off. Quick look at the weapon situation. Vort's busting out the op. And that is a scary sign because I expect Vort to be aggressive with this op. And you can see already it's going to be in garage and it's going to be running into potentially 2, probably more. And already Vort just gets Din. Just like that. Meanwhile, in mid, we can see where the push is happening. Sheriff Tokyo sees a teammate get gunned down. Is going to look for a bit of retribution. Cannot get the headshot! And Forbidden Nature gets a cheeky little 3K. Oh, that was so unfortunate. The idea was right, but it's not going to happen. And now Ducky, one man versus the world, holding on to a frenzy, and the spike is going to lose a duel to EXO. And a flawless victory to take us to match point. Melbourne High looking to go 1-up in this series. Here we go. It all comes down to this. One more map. And Melbourne High is going to be up 1-0 in this series. Taking a look at those weapons. You know Vort's still sitting on that op. You know it's still there. And guess what? By swapping sides this time around, Vort's going to be looking for it. It's going to be running into 2 attackers. Spike's actually on the opposite end, but let's see what Vort's going to be able to do. Didn't quite time that jump, but does find Din. Knives come out straight into the face of Robert Triangle, and another quick 2K from Vort. Meanwhile, in mid, we're seeing that push on the B side. Actually, Dougie able to find Forbidden Nature. So that should open somewhat of a doorway onto the B, like the B pressure, but they're not going to take it. they actually fall back. And I think they're waiting for Melbourne to kind of press into them. But Melbourne playing much more patient this time, so they'd be waiting for a long, long time as Ducky. So cautious trying to get on the point. It's going to have to be so careful. Meanwhile, EXO just trying to play how you doing around that ice wall. I do believe he did spot Cringe Normie there, but not going to turn it into too much yet. Ducky still trying to play that slow push. Grenades come down, and it's through heaven where you got to be careful. EXO aware someone's likely in the garage. Shots coming out. Nothing making contact just yet as Tim. Just a lot of fire on the garage door entrance. Does let St. Edmunds know that heaven is controlled, and I'm curious if that's going to turn into a St. Edmunds heaven flank. No, they're going to go through the sewers, actually, and look to go to A, or are they? Cringe Normie still trying to play mid, and this could lead into something dangerous. EXO spots out Cringe Normie, but loses the duel as the attack does press forward. Ducky leading the charge, but look underneath Ducky! No! They're right behind you! The 3K from CJH wins the round! All three members just walk right on by him, and that's going to do it. Melbourne High takes map number 1, 13-4 in dominant fashion. I cannot believe that's how that one ended. Oh, my. 23-6 for Vort, yet. I'm sorry, play of the round has to be CJH right there. You can see him just at the bottom of the screen, and all three just walk right on by. My goodness. Oh, you love to see it. You love to see it if you're a fan of Melbourne. If you're a fan of St. Edmunds, well, fret not. It is a best of 3, so we are not done yet. In fact, we're going to be going to SEC's map of choice next. We're going to Bind. So stick with us. More HSL when we return. The start of covering Valorant here at XP Esports, there has been one high school that has been utterly dominant through not one, but now potentially 2 seasons. Melbourne High, with their chance to have another undefeated spree. They're just one map away, and it's only St. Edmunds that stands in their path. We are going to bind the map of choice for St. Edmunds, and it's only fitting they'll be on the attack first against this Melbourne squad, who will be on defense after a very dominant performance in Split. Can they keep that momentum going? I am formal, and this is it. This could be our final map of the season. Now, our agents are already being selected right now, as I believe we can jump over. We can see some similarities in the past, so a few minor differences. A lot of vision and a lot of vision control coming from this defending side right now. Melbourne taking no prisoners. The only thing that really remains the same is going to be Vort on that jet. On the other side, Ducky's still sticking with Killjoy. Cringe Normie still on the Brimstone. Robert Triangle again, you know, playing to that jet, but no more Sage for Din. And Tokyo as well is going to be running Phoenix, so a little bit of a different look coming from this attacking side. Now, before we get into it, I'm sure you're all wondering what really is at stake. What is the prizes on the lines? Well, everyone who has made it to this finals, of course, is going to be getting a trophy. Second place, our runner-ups will be getting a mouse pad for each of these players. And for the winners, will you get a new mouse and keyboard for the starting lineup. So mouse and keyboard plus a trophy for the winners. That is what is on the line. For our second place, our runner-ups, it will just be the mouse pad, but trophies as well. So definitely something a bit worth playing for. It's always nice to win some computer tech as we are on to that map. Again, on the attack, it is none other than our... On the attack, it's the people attacking from behind, I suppose. It is St. Edmunds on the attack. It is Melbourne on defense. And the big one to watch out for, of course, is none other than this player right here. Vort had an amazing game number 1. Will they be able to repeat that in game number 2? Well, we're starting with a B attack, but this is so typical of the Melbourne side. They're going to push, and they're going to try and find an early flank. They do go 1-for-1, but Vort is down. And historically, if Vort falls, that usually is a win for St. Edmunds. And you can see St. Edmunds, they actually come out on top during that initial trade. CJA is trying to rotate back into the building, but is going to be forced into a little bit of a duel with Din right here. Tries to drop the Tremor, is a bit of a flanking play, but is now spots the pistol. Look at the pistol, it was right there, and yet distracted by the entranceway. Means he's not going to find much, and what looked to be a good setup unfortunately kind of goes upside down for the side of St. Edmunds. It's Cringe Normie versus the World's going to fake collecting that ultimate orb and is now looking to rotate A, but the teleport has been sounded, and that means our 2 remaining defenders are going to be able to rotate back to that other side. See what Cringe is going to be able to do. Now, both Forbidden Nature, I believe, and EXO do not have enough health to survive a headshot. Cringe is going to fake the plant. Tries to get that head snipe on EXO, but does win the duel. Very low health for Cringe Normie, and only a Cypher left. Forbidden Nature still healthy, but he has the frenzy, so he has to get up close.
30 seconds left.
It's going to be a bit of a risky push. The plant's happening, and oh no, it's to the back of the dome. Forbidden Nature gets a big first-round win for this side, and a little bit of style at the tail end of it all. A great start for St. Edmunds, their first pistol round victory of the afternoon. So Melbourne on the tail end after our first map. We haven't seen him play from behind yet today. We rarely get to see him play from behind, if at all, and that was a great play from Cringe Normie as well as sort of the rest of this side. And I am mistaken. I'm not smart, everyone. I have to apologize. I've just realized, wait a minute, of what just happened. And the attack failed. So Melbourne is out in front. Melbourne is the one leading. Ignore everything I said for the past 30 seconds, because it's all factually incorrect. What we are seeing, though, is a hard attack straight through the sort of lounge up above, and now we're seeing a nice little brawl happening in B. CJH presses forward. Gets himself a nice 3K with the Shotgun Classic. How did I get the teams mixed up? I am so sorry for that. CJH and the rest of the defending Melbourne side, because it was the defenders who won, going to be out in front there, going to take that first victory right there. So now they're up 2-0. We recompose ourselves, and we continue on. A great start, actually, for CJH right now. It should be worth noting. 5-1 on this breach, playing excellent defense. Yet the attack looks to be going to that other side. They're going back to B, where they had a bit more success the first time around. So we'll see if Melbourne continues to sort of press forward right here. As Ducky will be leading charge. You know, sometimes you want the comeback so bad. You want to believe it's going to happen. And it just, well, and then you pause, stop, and you reflect on reality, and reality says, no, that's not the case at all. There's no such thing as fake results in competitive esports, I must say, as Robert Triangle trying to find a way in. It's not going to get too much. Din instead follows through. Nice use of the blind, but isn't going to get too much on the tail end of it all. However, pushing forward, Tokyo actually able to get onto the point, helps Ducky find a 2K, and this looks very good. Now it looks like St. Edmunds has a bit more control. It's just going to be up to CJH, who has 5K at the moment. It's going to need to finish this round with 9K if it's going to be a victory for the Melbourne side. Going to try and slow push with the Spectre, but we'll see how much CJH is actually going to get. No point in econing here, because you are going to be probably buying next round either way. As what will CJH look to do? Very delayed push right now. Very patient play from CJH. Does sort of hear the shooting. And eventually, oh, those are very loud footsteps. But you're not watching behind you, and Ducky is able to get an easy flank. The attackers get the victory right there. I'm not sure what happened with CJH in that situation, but it is what it is. I thought I heard those footsteps. Maybe CJH was distracted. Ducky got scared, apparently. That's kind of funny. Hey, you know what? It's a good win for the St. Edmunds side. St. Edmunds, they get back in this, and now we get a proper round with each side buying up, you would think. Forbidden Nature, actually, might be stuck just going classic. And that's a little bit unfortunate for the defenders. This could be another prime opportunity, one would think. Forbidden Nature forced to go Ghost on the defense. However, most of the defense is happening down below as Tim is able to spot all 5 members. Does find one with the Phantom. Shots through the smoke. They looked like they were accurate, but they weren't making contact. Shot Dark's not going to hit anyone just yet, as the push through the middle does continue for St. Edmunds. Tim just laying down so much fire, not wanting to let anyone get through. EXO able to find a rotating Din as EXO continues to shoot down the hallway. In the back, Tim pushes forward, actually finds the spike, gets control, as we see that atypical Melbourne flake wrapping around from the back. Will lead to a 4-1 victory, 3-1 lead at the moment for Melbourne, and they take control of the map once again. You can't get held down in choke points against Melbourne. They will find ways to flank you, and when that happens, you just got to type GG because this team is so good at collapsing when you are stuck in the middle of the map. Their rotations are so quick, so precise, and so deadly. 12 seconds still remaining in this, and for the attack right now, the question is, where do you want to push from? What resources do you really have? The answer is not that much. Din, of course, going to be rocking that Sheriff. Let's see. We saw Din get close in the past back in map 1 and just couldn't quite get that lucky shot. And now, once again, it looks like Melbourne's actually going to get quite aggressive down B long. Flash is in play. In fact, everyone gets flashed as CJH was able to help find one. Meanwhile, Vort going on a little bit of a spree right now. Gets a quick 2K. Knives are drawn. Not going to throw them down just yet. A good flash puts Vort in a very awkward spot, able to recover for the moment as with that press, Forbidden finds one. Vort gets the third. And that is 4 attackers, only 1 remaining. Tokyo tried to get the flank, but isn't going to get much. Vort gets a 4K on the round. And speaking of 4K, well, there are 4 points in this match. Pure dominance coming from the Melbourne side. As they are continuing put themselves further and further ahead. So we take a look at which items we are going. Well, it's going to be a full buy for this attack. Let's see where they decide to go with it. It looks like the attack actually is going to be going either through markets or straight down the middle of A. It's definitely going to be a mid push, that market mid push. With Tokyo dropping ultimate straight away. Running it back. Well, you're not going to find anyone that easily because you make yourself known like that. All you need to do is hide, which is exactly what, you know, EXO is doing. This push, to me, seems like it could be very, very ill-fated. That said, EXO is spotted by Cringe Normie, so a bit of the control is taken. Tim going to be sitting back. Notes that attacking Killjoy ult is down, but Tokyo is able to peek through, get a nice find right there. And you know what? I thought the attack might not work, but instead it looks very strong for the St. Edmunds side, as that's going to be a 4-1 victory, or 4-0 really. Either way, 4-2 lead. Ticing it down just a little bit. St. Edmunds do bring one back. As we continue with this, all right, yeah, having a little, yep, that's an interesting chest tattoo that Breach has. I just want to point that out there. That's something. Kind of appreciate, you know, a good solid chest tattoo every now and then. Looks to be a B push being set up right now.
Oh, this is a nice spot.
As, Tokyo's going to have to be very careful with this peek. I'm not sure this is an advised peek. Does get spotted, tries to throw things out, but will look to retreat. Pressing forward, though, is Vort, who has the op. Just watching those angles, being very, very cautious. CJH is able to find Robert Triangle. And now Vort still watching those tight angles. Oh, spots one, but didn't have the reflexes to get that 1K, and now Vort has to retreat all the way back. Gonna watch that next corner, yet knowing that the corners are dangerous, it looks like St. Edmunds is gonna rotate to the B side. See how they're gonna be able to push this one. Tokyo again going point, as some shots are being fired in long. Tokyo gonna go flash, now gonna look to push, but the flash went right to the smoke. Shots go down, doesn't hit anyone, and it's gonna be forced to retreat after his position is revealed. Din tries to drop the ultimate, but immediately gets picked, and that's not a good sign. 3 members remaining on each team. Tokyo still trying to push through the window at the moment. Shots going long, but I don't even think Tokyo was aware of how close they were to actually connecting onto Sova. Either way, it does look like B is going to go for the plant. Vort still with the off, still trying to find angles. Expect Vort to eventually make that play, because it does look like Melbourne has their enemies completely surrounded, and they're just going to be waiting to pull the trigger. So expect CJH probably to go first in this one. He will most likely be going point, although with one spotted, Ducky's already gone. Now comes the press forward, but the op is out of the equation. Does not matter, though, because the defense will hold on. And when I say defense, I mean the attack. They were defending the spike. You get what I mean. The result is the same. St. Edmunds, after starting very rough on this map, crawling back. They take 2 points in a row, and we're looking at a 4-3 scoreline, and a Melbourne team that actually has to struggle with their econ a bit. Vort going the Sheriff, no longer the kill leader. In fact, it's CJH after that start. Meanwhile, Ducky and Cringe Normie have been winning a lot of duels. They're each looking quite strong themselves.
Together.
As we sort of follow this one, Robert Triangle is going to be going a very, very risky road right here. I'm so curious to see what Vort is going to be able to do with this Sheriff, though. How accurate can Vort be with this very lethal weaponry. All you need is those head taps, jumps forward, gets it on Din, a complete flank set up, and now Vort again has the Phantom. However, the action is happening back over on the opposite side. It is a bit of an A push right now as the defense is trying to take it back. Cringe Normie through the middle, gets a nice pick onto Vort, and that's what you want to see coming from this St. Edmund side. However, they're going to try to rotate, but they got to be careful because Forbidden Nature is going to have a flank. Will get spotted by the Killjoy turret. Oh, spots one member, but then here's the footsteps behind him. Able to find Ducky, and now
everyone hiding,
being able to spot out the rest of the team with that ultimate. They are aware, wait a minute, we can pincer them in B mid. Going for the long flank, though, will be Cringe Normie, as through the window, Robert Triangle looking to see if the B side is secured. Unaware of where exactly Tim is, although with those shots from Spawn, should have a bit of an idea. Very slow push from Forbidden Nature, actually going the long, long way around. No one wants to step onto this point just yet. As we see Robert Triangle eventually might go for it. Here we go. Robert Triangle's going to push forward, but got to watch out. CGH still watching that spawn. They should be aware with that smoke, and now they're definitely going to be aware as the sounds are made. Sova's dropping the ult. Actually able to find Cringe Normie. Oh, you don't expect to see that. Spike is stopped, but jumping right into CJH's faces is one Robert Triangle. That said, Tim is able to get one back, and it's just Tokyo. 1v2 situation. Going to lose that duel. Expect the spike to be defused, and Melbourne High take momentum back in this map. Now, going to take their time with it, so everyone just relax. Get a little stretch, you know. Calm yourselves down. 5-3 lead for Melbourne High. Feeling pretty good. Water. Look, it's important to hydrate, everyone. Remember, hydration is super important. In between maps, always get a little sippy sip of some water. 5-3 scoreline. Melbourne High win this map. They win this tournament for the second year in a row. They are the favorites, and they've been showing themselves why. Yet the fight from St. Edmunds, even after a pretty rough map number one, they've had their moments here in the second map, and those moments usually have come through duels in A mid, and that's what we're going to see right here. Tokyo's going to be able to run it back, trying to press forward, trying to spot out where opponents are. Actually gets a nice little pick onto EXO. And that probably shouldn't happen. EXO should be aware. Hold on. If we see a Phoenix pushing, you don't want to even engage in that duel. Tim going for a late defensive flank right now. I believe he's been able to get to that position without being spotted, but isn't able to catch anyone. Or is he? He actually does get Tokyo pushing through short, but isn't going to win that next duel. And it all comes down to Vort, who was the star in map number one. Bit of a slower showing in map number two. Now has a 1v3 in order to keep the momentum on that Melbourne side. Trying to peek all the angles. Oh, interesting. Breach revealed themselves. As we see a lot of fire being, like, essentially peaks coming at all angles. Everyone knows where Vort is. Vort should have a general idea of where everyone else is as well. Goes for it, gets one on Din. Out comes the knife. Oh, cannot make contact with him, though. Only two. One little sneeze will bring Vort down. Shots through the box, forces a repossession, and Robert Triangle will then strike. A big point taken back by St. Edmunds as they bring down Vort yet again. 5-4 lead. It's getting closer and closer for this St. Edmunds College. Can they take us to that third and final map? Here we go. 12 seconds before we go again. A quick look at the itemization. Looks to be an econ round. So you'd expect things to be tied up after this, but with two sheriffs, you never know. You could see some crazy stuff. CJH and Vort each going the sheriff. Oh my goodness, hold on. We got ourselves a little bit of the little shorty action. It's not going to come through, but what is going to come through is the Stinger and Tim. Able to find one as the rest of the push is going to be happening through the window. Over at B as Forbidden Nature completely surrounded, trying to survive with the shorty. Is not going to be able to find too much. CJH, though, was able to find himself a Vandal, and that's some pretty dangerous weaponry. A Killjoy ultimate against an econ round coming from the St. Edmunds side. They want to leave nothing to chance in this. And they're going to go ahead and plant the spike now. Can our attackers turn defenders? Hold off in what will be a 2v2 after CJH gets a quick one on Din. CJH is going to be continuing to try to push. Meanwhile, up in the window, Tim is going to have that first look, has himself the Vandal. This is going to be such a tight situation. Ducky, our current kill leader, See what they can do in this. It's going to get spotted by the sort of scouting arrow. As pushing through the window, Tim able to find Tokyo. Ducky now has to hold on, doesn't win. And in the econ round, they have enough time. They will get the defuse. And Melbourne strikes a pretty significant blow back to the St. Edmunds side with that win right there. A thrifty victory is a strong victory. Really well played by the Melbourne High School team. The question is, can now our attackers keep the econ going? Tokyo's not in a great spot. Neither is Din. That was such a turn of fortune because I feel like you have to econ right now if you're on St. Edmunds, yet they don't seem to be on that same page, actually. Cringe Normie was looking to get weapons. Yeah, okay, now they are going to econ it down, although Din's still sticking with the weapon.
Get out of my way!
I mean, you're going into an op here, right? Like, this is so dangerous. Robert Trangle does get Exo, though. And, oh, there goes the op. Robert Trangle finds another. CJH, though, is able to take down Trangle. Still against an econing team, Melbourne. They lose 2 members quite quick. And do we see another thrifty victory? Cringe Normie with that Spectre. Going to try to slow push through the smoke. Oh, this isn't good because right behind them, CJH. We've seen CJH get this flank before. Is able to find Ducky by footsteps alone. Tries to drop a bit of concussion down, goes into a 1v1 duel with Cringe Normie. And the defenders do get the victory right here. CJH able to get the flank, able to retake control of the spike, and most importantly, get that win. Last round now before the swap. I expect everyone to go full buys here. What plays will we see? 15 seconds still go time. As with 10 seconds remaining, there's a big difference between 8-4 and 7-5. 2-point difference and a 4-point difference is absolutely massive. This is a must-win situation, I feel like, for St. Edmunds. Can they pull off this attack? As Cringe Normie is going to be spotting an aggressive defense, but not able to win that first duel. It still turns into a 1v1, but the spike did fall. Vort being forced back with that op. Not going to be able to get too much. Yeah, on a little bit of a flank, actually, this attack. Robert Trangle, as well as Tokyo, able to get behind the aggressive defense. And finally, someone able to turn that back around. A great play from St. Edmunds. Their speed, able to get the edge against Melbourne. And now Tim has to try and 1v4 this against 2 ultimates as well, so it kind of turns into a 1v5. If we see things get run back, Tim unable to sidestep in time. And that's going to be a victory for the attackers. That is St. Edmunds staying alive as we switch the sides. St. Edmunds now going to try and come back in this. See how they go on the defensive front. On the attack, it is going to be Melbourne for the win as well. If Melbourne can win this attack, well, guess what? They win this tournament. It's going to be a bit of an A push to start us off by the looks of things. A group of a 5-man. 10 seconds till go time. So many toys, so many defenders on B, but that's going to make things a lot more difficult for Robert Trangle as well as for Cringe Normie to kind of hold that opposite side. Curious if they're going to be able to do it. Vort going in point with the classic and a bit of armor. Straight through the smoke, straight through the flare. It was timed well, but Vort unable to execute on the kill. And you can see, trying to run for his life was Cringe Normie. Eventually will be found by CJH, and the first pick should mean point control. Yet they're swapping sides. It's a very fast rotation through the teleport. However, Tokyo is going to spot everyone through the window, and you can see those shots coming down. They were too quick for their own good in that situation. St. Edmunds caught mid-rotation, only had to take a few steps back. However, they're going back over to A, because Forbidden Nature and Tim actually stuck around on the A side, and, well, they're going back to the A side as well with the spike. Really well played as Tim drops a bit of that recon bolt. Is going to spot out, gets knocked up and knocked around. Shock Dart is going to stop the aggressive push, and you can see even with the spike planted right now, Melbourne, they want to be aggressive. Has to be super careful though. So much smoke, making the wrong step as the smoke falls. Tokyo had the angle on Tim. Forbidden Nature though, 1v3, not going to win that duel, and these defenders from St. Edmunds are fighting back. CJH as well as Vort Eats holding back. Vort takes some shots down up to heaven, but unable to find anyone. Ducky gets CJH, and Vort needs to defend. Doesn't make contact. Ducky gets the 2K, and it looks like St. Edmunds, they'll get the defuse. They will punish Melbourne for being over-aggressive, and they'll take us back within 1. St. Edmunds, now they win the pistol round. Now they get their first advantage going into this phase of the game, and Melbourne getting a little over-eager, too aggressive, and they're letting St. Edmunds back in this game. Here we go, 7-6. St. Edmunds, they've still been on the back foot, but it does feel like momentum has slowly been changing for our now current defenders.
Placing alarm bomb.
Pack looking to be going back onto A once again. As the toys are being dropped on the B side once more. Cringe Normie's going to go ahead and drop that smoke from up above. Robert Trengle with the Spectre. How accurate can be with the Spectre from this distance, Robert? Well, the answer is not very initially. Does get some shots down. Actually, a little bit of chip damage, but nothing to write home about. Continuing to get that chip damage down, actually. Robert doing quite well. But it's down below where you got to be careful. Cringe Normie trying to get inside the building, but is unable to find too much. Smoke's coming through. The spike does get planted. It will be dedication to this A side. As Cringe Normie held on that back foot, forced to retreat a bit further. Now comes the aggressive defensive play. Trying to keep their eyes on the bathhouse. Don't spot much. It's a fight inside Lamps. As Cringe Normie is going to get super aggressive, but into the smoke. Still finds one before getting gunned down by Captain Sheriff and CJH, who turns it into a 2K. Ducky, the only defender remaining, and will be found out. A thrifty victory, although not officially, for the attackers. And every time it looks like St. Edmunds might have that momentum in their way, Melbourne does just enough to keep their lead. Very well played by this Melbourne side. CJH in particular, absolutely having a dominant performance right now. 16-8 on this play, on this breach. And Spectre's being used. Yeah, no one's actually going full buy yet, in a sense. We are seeing full buy SMGs, though, coming from our attackers. And they will have the econ advantage. Going through B long. Blind comes down. They don't find too much. You can see Vort was going for that pick, but isn't able to find too much. And you got to be careful right here if you're EXO, because they might be getting themselves set up for a flank. The attack through long, though, is actually going quite well. As you can see, Vort with the 2K. Onto the point we go. Killjoy's turrets going to try and slow things down, but being rushed from 2 angles, that is going to try and force them back, but they don't find much. Ducky goes down. Vort gets a 3K, but most importantly, a flawless victory for the Melbourne side, up 9-6, 4 points away from winning this tournament. Only will take 4 more maps for Melbourne High School to be our champions. On the A side, it's getting set up at the moment. Could be a fair bit of defense on the A side.
Right there.
Tucky 4-push. Look, Tucky saying 4-push scared him. I don't mean to be that person, but it was only 2. Either way, let's see what can happen. Oh, I only saw 2. At least actually it might have been 3. Either way, Vort's just pushing straight through the smoke. Is able to try to get into Lamps, but actually will get concussed a fair bit. He's going to try and slow play this one. Eventually will peek through Lamps, but guess what? No one's there because everyone instead is trying to play defense in the mid side around those boxes. Shots fired into Lamps. Shot fired down mid. Not a lot of contact being made. It was 2 quick picks from the defense. They actually find a third as Tokyo gets one. So too does Cringe Normie. And this looks to be a bit of a failed attack coming from the Melbourne side. Vort able to find one, but he's still kind of pinned down in that Lamps. Gets a bit of a peek, spots everyone from the St. Edmunds side. And St. Edmunds do get one back. They keeping it close. 9-7 scoreline. I am going to expect both sides now to buy up, and we're finally getting our first, I feel, even match in this in terms of the buy. I mean, minus Ducky. Ducky's going to be stuck on the Spectre. But in response, Vort actually econing for what should be an op is going to be going for the Bucky. We haven't seen any real Bucky plays. We've seen the Bucky brought out a couple times. Do we see the Bucky play this time around? Let's see what Bucky can do. See what Vort on this Bucky can do. Well, the answer is use the ultimate. I should have seen that one coming. Let's be honest right here. No one plays the Bucky seriously. As it will be a slow B push 3 eyes on it, plus the toys of Ducky.
Off your feet!
As ultimate's going to be put into play, Ducky's able to sidestep it, but onto the point. Vort just looking for something, looking for anything, is going to find the run it back, running through all the smoke, and Cringe Normie actually finds Vort. Further back, CJH playing that patient game, just watching his teammates lose every single duel, and all of a sudden it's 1v4. CJH gets one, but cannot stop the 2-man push, and that's going to be another victory for the defenders, and St. Edmunds back within 1. They can't bring this team down, it looks like, as we continue. Here we go. 9-8. A chance for St. Edmunds to tie. Chance for them to get themselves back in this game. They are going back to the A side, though, on the attack, Melbourne. I'm going to be hoping that's where they find their successes, as they actually might be going through fast in order to do this. Vort, again, looking to play so aggressive on this point. Just hasn't been able to find too much. Actually is able to try and get some pot shots off with the smoke, but they don't make contact. The flare in return means not much. You'll be fine. So many flares coming from Din eventually that will lead to a bit of a brawl. 2 down on each side, but unfortunately for our defenders, it looks like Melbourne was able to get on the point. They're establishing themselves. It's going to come down to a 2v2 duel. Spike is down, and we would think Tokyo could have vision on it, but that's not going to be the case. Not with the pressure coming from that bathhouse. Killjoy's going to go ahead and use that ultimate, and that is going to be pretty significant. However, the Spike actually isn't in the Killjoy range. What is, though, is this duel, and Forbidden Nature finds another, a 3K right now for the Cypher. And the attack looking very, very good. It all comes down to Ducky. 2v1 situation, but still sitting at full health. And the same can't be said by our 2 Melbourne attackers. Spike picked up, but it's the flank from CJH that takes down Ducky. 10-8 lead. 3 points left for Melbourne High School. Back and forth we go. Back and forth. A very tense map right now. That's Melbourne High off of CJH and Forbidden Nature this time around, definitely trying to bring themselves back in. Curious where they're going to attack. They're fully spread out. This is a 4-member spread situation right now, and we are going to be seeing a little bit of a duel in the hallway. Robert Triangle gets the op shot onto CJH, and already this attack is a member down. EXO going to try and slow push through the window. Okay, a little bit of a flare through the teleporter. Not sure what to make of that one. As you can see, it will lead to a full rotation. Yeah, they just want to avoid that op of Vort. Actually, it's going to get knocked around by the enemy breach. Op shot doesn't make contact. Smoke's in play, and Vort actually is going to go through the teleporter. So it appears actually that the defense still has this on lockdown. As you can see, a judge kill onto Vort, courtesy of Tokyo. Means our defenders, you know, they're kind of outgunning this attack right now. The complete spread attack definitely not working out. Forbidden Nature goes too deep and will get hit in the back. That just leaves only 2 attackers remaining, and it's going to be Tim and EXO versus the world, each of them unhealthy. As we see, Tim can't win the duel, and EXO, last man standing, just going to try and get any pick. Cannot stop Tokyo, who gets a 3K with a judge and a sheriff. St. Edmunds again bring us back within 1. Patient defense handles the 4-push approach. Very good stuff from St. Edmunds. They are very much still fighting on the map of their choice. This is exactly what they wanted to bring. And until this op is taken care of, it's just going to be so much trouble for the Melbourne side. Robert is really able to hold down so many of these long lines of sight. And let's see if Robert's going to be able to get another one here. It does look to be a bit of a B push, unfortunately, so Robert could be in a bit of trouble. Instead, it's going to be kind of up to Tokyo and Ducky to hold 4 of the 5 members from Melbourne High. Tokyo continuing to try and peek up in window. Eventually does spot out that Omen, and now pulls out the big gun. Trying to find some picks. Has to be careful where you step, though. Shock Dart comes through, does a nice bit of damage as the rush. It's a failed rush from Vort. As able to run it back is Tokyo trying to get a bit aggressive, but here comes the Sheriff CJH. able to shut down that Phoenix as CJH now
down, B.
actually trying to
Last
hold this
player
line. I
standing.
mean, it was a bit of a failed attack because the defenders were able to get the flank, and it is CJH versus the world. Does get one before falling. Our defenders tie it up. St. Edmunds now sitting at 10-10. This defense on an absolute tear. They are starting to punish the over-aggressive nature of Melbourne at times. As you can see, they stay far enough back, they make the reads, and they're getting the picks that they have to. St. Edmunds, every single time they're getting the first K, it feels like. It feels like that every time. Either, you know, those off picks or taking advantage of Vort, who just does not seem as comfortable on this map as what we saw before. Robert Triangle, again, going to be holding mid with that op. Do we see that quick pick? Oh, be very careful. Don't slow push like this. Robert Triangle able to find CJH, wins the duel, but is spotted by the Sova. Fortunately able to jump over that third and final shot. Either way, the attack has been exposed to be going down A side. And Forbidden Nature is going to have to be very, very cautious with that next peak. So many defenders right now in heaven. That's definitely not where we're going to go. EXO keeping his eyes on lamps. As I expect, that's where we see the push. Meanwhile, Forbidden Nature is going to find some more defenders cheating through spawn. Will go down, and this is just another defensive route. Spike carrier goes down. One defender remaining here. It all comes down to Vort versus the world. Let's find the first. And forced to retreat back. Another duel goes Vort's way. Is blinded. Has to reload in an awkward situation. Yet gets through the teleporter, so we'll have another crack at everything. I don't think the defense is going to follow through, but that's just going to make it so much more difficult. You got 34 seconds to either get to that spike or take down these three defenders if you are Vort.
Left.
Going through the link, through the alleys. Bit of the jump push, but doesn't spot anyone there. Actually gets the height advantage, gets the third. Two defenders remaining, although now they should know where Vort is. 13 seconds to go. Has to get both of them, but running away is this breach. Spike is taken. Has to go for the plant. Actually goes for the fake, but doesn't win the duel against Ducky. And even if they did, I feel like Din was far enough back that we wouldn't have been able to see the 5K there. Herculean effort coming from Vort, but not enough to pull the 1v5 clutch. Still, 10-11. For the first time today, St. Edmunds has a lead. And if they win two of the next few maps, well, guess what? We could be going to a third map. It could be the first blow dealt to Melbourne High. And we could be seeing a Map 3 Grand Final in, I believe, Haven is where we would be going. Oh, my goodness. What a comeback from St. Edmunds to stay alive in this. As we're seeing a hard push down the middle right now. Robert Triangle no longer with that off. Is still able to find Tim. And once again, the first kill goes to the side of St. Edmunds. Although everyone's already in lamps right now, that could be devastating. Spike actually gets planted very prematurely. As everyone on the attack is there, they get a nice 2K out of Forbidden Nature. And this is the attack, turning things back around. Camera being used to check heaven, does spot out the likes of Din, and now Forbidden Nature is able to watch it with only 5 health. Won't be able to win the duel. CJH holding lamps, able to find Ducky, and that just means our last defender is sitting up in a window. EXO finds him with the stinger, and Melbourne brings it back 11-all in our fight to 13. Melbourne trying to win. St. Edmunds trying to stay alive. Here we go. Last-ditch efforts, you would have to think, for both of these teams. Econ's looking good. Robert Triangle sticking with that op. Has been so dangerous from peeking down mid, and look where Melbourne wants to go again. Oh my goodness, this is such a risky play. The flash has come through, but Robert is still able to find CJH. And that is the spike that's been found, yet the attack still finds 2 in return. As Vort seems to have been unleashed. Had a rough start this map, but now is on an absolute tear. Smokes coming down to protect the team. Spike being planted in the same spot as before from behind.
Spike
Tokyo
planted.
is going to try and play heaven. Try and find any picks to take this spike back. Looking down long. Get some chip damage, but can't break anyone down. Meanwhile, on the other side, Ducky holding that line, but it's the 2 defenders having to attack against 4 attackers now. We've switched roles, and it is such a dangerous push. Ducky trying to slow play it, is going to be spotted by Cypher, so they know someone's coming through lamps. And again, the smoke screen just kind of forcing Ducky to reposition. Vort waiting for the defuse. The defuse is initially a fake. Arrows being brought out with the smoke. Vort gets one and does not get the second. It's taken away by EXO. Either way, it is now tournament point for Melbourne High.
Match point.
Holding off this last-ditch effort from St. Edmunds. This is it. Match point. And they've got 2 chances to do it. What can Melbourne do? What can St. Edmunds do in response? They have the econ, but they no longer have the op that has been giving them those first kills. It looks as if Melbourne could potentially be pushing onto the B side. St. Edmunds, they're going to have to wrap around eventually. Do they go for the flank, or do they rotate back on defense when things get found out? Does Melbourne continue to push super fast and super aggressive? The answer initially appears to be yes. Ducky's Toys will be the first to find it with Tokyo. One would believe. Vort, typically the one who goes point. Shots coming down and a big ultimate coming out of Breach means it is going to be another rush push. Tokyo is just getting CC'd, pushed disposition, getting blinded as well. Not much Tokyo can do. They turn it into, though, a big turnaround as Ducky and Robert arrive. Robert gets one, and now CJH has to 1v3 to win the tournament in a defender's killjoy. I don't see this happening. We could be going to a final point to determine the St. Edmunds bringing it back. It was such an aggressive push from Melbourne, but what we've seen is when they get aggressive, they usually get caught out. And despite putting Ducky in the mosh pit, it was not enough to take control. The fast rotation. I believe it is first to 13. I believe that is the situation. It is time to win it right here if you are St. Edmunds. This is, you lose this point, you lose the tournament. If you are Melbourne, you win this point, you win the tournament. This is it. Do we see a math 3? Or can Melbourne put them away? Melbourne has never lost a game in this event. Do they lose their first in the final? Smoke's coming out from EXO. He's going to be desperate to look for picks right now. Vort is looking to also make that flank through the showers. Looking long is Tim. Trying to find those picks down mid. Doesn't find anyone. Through the showers, though, Robert actually will be the one who steps out first. As we did switch... Wait, did we switch? Oh, my gosh. We did switch sides. It actually is a bit of the defense, coming from the Melbourne High side. I apologize. I just now caught that. And onto the point, actually, is Robert Trangle and this attack. As we see some quick trades right now. 2-1 advantage for Melbourne looking to end. Robert Trangle going to slow push it as the spike has been planted. I feel like this is going to turn into Robert versus the world right now. Trying to slow push. Scouts get spotted by one. And the last player, the last hope is Tokyo on the Phantom. Gets one for the 3K. Just needs to find 2 more. Tokyo trying to find the 5K, has the ultimate, but steps back into Breach. And that is how the tournament will come to an end. It will be Melbourne High getting their victory, their second event in a row. They will be your high school champions. Oh my goodness. You hate to see it go down that way, but stepping back into CJH. And it's not GG, I apologize. I was listening to the players, but I guess it's in overtime. Here we go, you gotta win by 2. Oh. We faked it all out. It just doesn't want to end. You know what? I was told that was the last round, and I think I was the one who told me. I was told by the players that was the last round, and this is why you should listen to tournament admins, not players. By the way, that's on me. But what isn't is the chance to stay alive. It's almost as if they've been given a second chance. What can our defenders do? We got overtime. Now on the attack. Melbourne has to go on the attack to win this. You got to win by 2. You got to win it through overtime. No freebies in this. Oh, my goodness. Vort already has one, and Vort might have more. Although will get actually flared from up above. Vort, though, still very patient, still playing that high ground. The attackers have been able to take the point through lamps, though. Vort's got to be careful. He is able to spot out Din for a second, and now it could be a second time in a row. Tokyo has to go 1 versus the world. Not going to be the case. Instead, it comes down to Ducky. 1v4. Ducky already is typing down those GGs, but Ducky's able to find one. 50 health, 1v3. Spike has been planted. What can Ducky do? from heaven. The flank from EXO gets it done, and now Melbourne High School are your HSL champions. Now they get the victory. It took one extra game, kind of caught us off guard, but the result is still the same. Melbourne High, HSL Valorant champs. Vort brought it back, might I add. Had a rough start, but was able to win some matches, able to bring it back, and really well played. Congratulations to Melbourne High. A big GG's to St. Edmunds as well. I mean, this team, they had to come back in that second map. They made it close. It just was not enough at the end. They couldn't win it in overtime. And, I mean, so many close games, so many big plays, realistically. Vort will be named MVP, though, for this series. I mean, 2 games in a row, the kill leader. Not quite the KDA that CJH had in game number 2, but when Vort was playing aggressive, especially in split, there was just nothing it looked like that St. Edmunds was able to do to that. So a big congratulations to Melbourne High. They get the trophies. They get the mouse as well as the keyboard. Big GG's to them. For St. Edmunds, they get themselves some nice mouse pads, some nice trophies as well. And for everyone at home, well, you get to have watched some really, really fun Australian high school Valorant. It's always good to promote the scene, so a big thank you to all the sponsors as well. Of course, ZQ Racing, Computer Alliance, TGG, XP, again, who we are. And if you take a look at our Season 1 brackets right here, you can see another undefeated run for Melbourne High School. Second tournament in a row. This school comes out on top, although I have to admit, a lot more difficult the second time around than it was that first time. St. Edmunds so close to taking that second map off of them, and it's going to be a bittersweet situation for them. Melbourne High still are champions. They get to walk home as the victors, and I get to sort of sit back, relax, and congratulate them with the likes of you. One last time, would like to thank all 8 of our schools for participating in this event as well. Thank you for everyone who sort of tuned in and watched along with us. I mean, it's always great to support these high school esports. Show them the love where you can. And not to mention, XP does other fun things as well. The Rainbow Six Women's League still happening right now. In fact, you can tune into that one tomorrow. So drop that follow if you're interested in some Rainbow Six Siege. Rocket League Finals is a few weeks away as well. So keep your eyes open for that. It's going to be another exciting day for some high school esports around the corner. So a lot happening here at XP. A reason to go ahead and drop that follow and stick with us. But until we get to see you again, it's been another great season of Valorant. I've been Formal Casson. I'm signing you off.
Get elite real-world performance for your desktop PC with 10th Gen Intel Core processors. If you're looking to game, create, live stream, or stay productive, 10th Gen Intel Core processors deliver an optimal balance of frequency, cores, and threads to handle real-world usages. Get enthusiast-level performance with an Intel Core i9 processor, up to 5.3 GHz clock speed for peak gaming performance and content creation workloads. Or for competitive gameplay and content creation, choose an Intel Core i7 with up to 5.1 GHz clock speed to handle your demanding applications. The Intel Core i5 processor with up to 4.8 GHz gives you a seamless AAA gaming and entertainment experience. And with up to 4.6 GHz clock speed, the Intel Core i3 is a great fit for everyday tasks and productivity. If you're looking to push your system even further, Get additional performance headroom with unlocked 10th Gen Intel Core processors, supported by Intel's advanced overclocking controls. Bring elite, real-world performance to your desktop PC with 10th Gen Intel Core processors.